Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev, Hey Gurudev. Go Premanandi Hari Hari Bo. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravakacharya Asatara Sata Sri Sriman. His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravakacharya Asatara Sata Sri Sriman. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Jai. Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai. Shri Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Maya Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Ki Jai, Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Yuga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan Yagya Ki Jai, Priya Madanga Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Transcendental Krishna Prasadam Distribution Ki Jai, Go Premanandi, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga. Thank you.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Gopi Janavalabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Kalachandji Radha Kalachandji Radhe Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Granta Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna everyone. Welcome to this morning's Srimad Bhagavatam class. I hope everyone had a nice Janmashtami and a nice Srila Prabhupada Vyasa Puja. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the personality of Godhead Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavatyutama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, whose praise with transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. As born in the darkest of ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Okay. Hare Krishna, everyone. So today we're going to be reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 5th canto, the creative impetus, chapter 8, a description of the character of Bharat Maharaj. We're going to be reading from text 26 to 31. And then we're going to focus on, I think it's 28. A small preface is that we're reading this book, the Srimad Bhagavatam, and it's telling us how to go back to Godhead. So Srila Prabhupada, he'd always emphasize that we need to read his books. And so we're going to be reading kind of a more heavy section through Srila Prabhupada's purports here. So everything that I say, I'm practically preaching to myself because I'm not, and anyways, this is going to be for all of our benefit, that we can all, read about Bharat Maharaj. So who remembers what was happening last time with Maharaj Bharat and the deer? Where did we leave off? He's in love. You want to explain more?
He achieved a deer consciousness.
He achieved deer consciousness. So he was totally crazed with this deer. I remember one time my friend, he sent me a picture of a baby deer. He's like, you can't really blame Bharat Maharaj. These things are pretty cute. But yeah, he got very attached to it, and he forgot the goal of life. So in this section, we're going to be kind of reading about what happens to that devotee who forgets the goal of life, the devotee who kind of loses track. So we see that often. Often we can think that spiritual life is just a linear, straight line, but it's actually often not like that. It's often we go up and down, and sometimes most of the time we do not achieve Krishna consciousness in one birth. Even where we are right now, it's taken many births for us to come to this point where we can chant Hare Krishna. The Shastra says. So we're going to start with text 26. So please read.
Am I reading? Is this loud? Okay. Sukadev Goswami continued, "My dear king, in this way Bharat Maharaj was overwhelmed by an uncontrollable desire which was manifest in the form of the deer. Due to the fruitive results of his past deeds, he fell down from mystic yoga austerity in worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If it were not due to his past fruitive activity, how could he have been attracted to the deer after giving up the association of his own son and family, considering them stumbling blocks on the path of spiritual life? How could he show his uncontrollable affection for a deer? This was certainly due to his past karma. The king was so engrossed in petting and maintaining the deer that he fell down from his spiritual activities. In due course of time, insurmountable death, which compared to a venomous snake that enters the hole created by a mouse, situated itself before him."
Okay, so we can just go through the purport here. All right. I'm gonna kind of go through all the purports in this section because they're so amazing. I'll just read it quickly. As will be seen in later verses, Bharat Maharaj, at the time of death, would be forced to accept the body of a deer due to his attraction for the deer. In this regard, a question may be raised. How can a devotee be affected by his past misconduct and vicious activities? In the Brahma Samhita 554, it is said, Karmani nirdahati kintu cha bhakti bhajam. For those engaged in devotional service, bhakti bhajan, the results of past deeds are indemnified. According to this, Bharat Maharaj could not be punished for his past misdeeds. The conclusion must be that Bharat Maharaj purposefully became over-addicted to the deer and neglected his spiritual advancement. So we're getting insight onto what's happening here. Bharat Maharaj, he purposefully became over-addicted to the deer. We're seeing that, the living entity always has free will. And so, basically, he has himself to blame for this situation. And that's often how it is in our spiritual life, is that when we become over-attached, it's, sometimes the devotees would tell Prabhupada, Maya is so strong. Does anyone know how Srila Prabhupada responded? Ajit, in the mic.
Not sure if that's that exact pastime you're talking about, but one time, a devotee asked, why is Maya so strong, Prabhupada? He said, why is your determination so weak?
Yeah, so we see that the theme is going to be today of how if we're not careful, this is kind of the result. Okay, to immediately rectify his mistake, for a short time he was awarded the body of a deer. This was just to increase his desire for mature devotional service. Although Bharat Maharaj was awarded the body of an animal, he did not forget what had previously happened due to his purposeful mistake. He was very anxious to get out of his deer body, and this indicates that his affection for devotional service was intensified, so much so that he was quickly to attain perfection in a Brahmana body in the next life. It is with this conviction that we declare in our Back to Godhead magazine that devotees like the Goswamis living in Vrindavan who purposefully commit some sinful activity are born in the bodies of dogs, monkeys, and tortoises in that holy land. Thus they will take on these lower life forms for a short while, and after they give up those animal bodies, they are again promoted to the spiritual world. Such punishment is only for a short period, and it is not due to past karma. It may appear to be due to past karma, but it is offered to rectify the devotee and bring him to pure devotional service. So, this is very interesting. We hear in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that Neha Bikramana Shosti. In this endeavor, there's no loss, and we're protected from the most dangerous type of fear. So, what does it mean that there's no loss, Dustin? What do you think that means when Krishna says there's no... Into the mic, if you can.
Can you repeat the question?
So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that there's no loss in this endeavor to become Krishna conscious. There's no setbacks. There's no losing your progress. What do you think that means?
From all the merit of our devotional service.
Sorry?
All the merit.
Okay. What
devotional.
happens?
Karma yoga, bhakti yoga.
Okay. Yeah, so our merit, whatever devotional service we've done, it's never destroyed. And so Srila Prabhupada is making it very clear that we don't compare this to a normal person descending into an animal form. This is specifically awarded by Krishna to rectify the devotee. So while it is quite heavy, that we could end up in an animal form, we also are seeing how it's the Lord's mercy anyways. It's all the Lord's mercy. Let's read the next text, please.
At the time of death, the king saw that the deer was sitting by his side, exactly like his own son, and was lamenting his death. Actually, the mind of king was absorbed in the body of the deer. Consequently, like those bereft of Krishna consciousness, he left the world the deer and his material body and acquired the body of a deer. However, there was one advantage. Although he lost his human body and received the body of a deer, he did not forget the incident of his past life.
Okay, so I pulled up a nice visualization of this. So we can all just, yeah. I mean, it's painted quite well, quite talented, but yeah, we're seeing, this is actually something not too uncommon for most people who leave their body, is that as they're leaving, they're trying to grasp onto anything they can and anyone they can, looking for shelter. Srimad Bhagavatam calls these family members, these friends, fallible soldiers. We always think that they'll protect us, but at the time of death, there's actually no one who can truly protect us. Let's go into this purport. I'm sorry we're not reading the Sanskrit. All of these verses are kind of we could say it in prose. I'm not even sure what that really means, but okay, not poetry. It's not like formatted in stanzas. It's kind of just like something like that. Yeah, it's a paragraph. Purport. There is a difference between Bharat Maharajas acquiring a deer body and others acquiring different bodies according to their mental condition at the time of death. After death, others forget everything that has happened in their past lives, but Bharat Maharaj did not forget. According to Bhagavad Gita, we can all recite together. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajan dyante kalevaram tam tam evaiti konteya saratad bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. After quitting his body, a person gets another body according to his mental condition at the time of death. At death, a person always thinks of that subject matter in which he has been engrossed during his life. According to this law, because Bharat Maharaj was always thinking of the deer and forgetting his worship of the Supreme Lord, he acquired the body of a deer. However, due to his having been elevated to the topmost platform of devotional service, he did not forget the incidents of his past life. This special benediction saved him from further deterioration. Due to his past activities in devotional service, he became determined to finish his devotional service even in the body of a deer. It is therefore said in this verse, Mritam. Although he had died, Anu, afterwards, Namrita, Janmanu smritir itaravat. He did not forget the incidents of his past life, as others forget them. As stated in the Brahma Samhita, Karmani nir dahati kintu chabakti bhajam. So Srila Prabhupada quoted this again. It is proved herein that due to the grace of the Supreme Lord, a devotee is never vanquished. Due to his willful neglect of devotional service, a devotee may be punished for a short time, but he again revives his devotional service and returns home back to Godhead. So, this was our focus verse. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pasyatya Deshitarine. So, we're seeing kind of almost a contradictory viewpoint on the devotee leaving his body. In one sense, it looks very difficult to go back to Godhead. Seems very, we have to be very careful. Srila Prabhupada would say spiritual life is like a razor's edge. And we have so much conditioning, we have so much built up from our past lives, that it's actually, we have to try very hard to be Krishna conscious if we want to go back to Godhead. And then on the other end, we're seeing the Lord's mercy in that the devotee is never vanquished, and that this endeavor is never without fruit, and that we're always protected within the Lord's mercy. we can look at kind of the science of this, the law, as Srila Prabhupada calls it. Often people, when they hear this verse, yam yam vapi sarambhavam, whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, they assume that, you can do whatever your whole life, and then at the last moment, this is what we would call in my generation, we clutch. It's a clutch play. But we just remember Krishna in the last 4 seconds, and okay, we go back to Godhead. But a few months ago, Hridayananda Maharaj, he kind of countered this misconception, saying that it's more like when a cash register at the end of the day, you hit the total button, and it sums it all up. People often say their life flashes before their eyes. So we're seeing here that what the subject matter in which someone has been engrossed is what will come up at the time of death. So we're always engrossed in something. And so we can think about our lifetime and really how much are we swimming against the current here? How many years have we spent engrossed in materialism? How many years have we spent, listening to this and doing that? And how deeply rooted are these impressions within us that we've been engrossed in? And so when the total button is hit at the end, how much of it will be Krishna conscious and how much of it will be from our previous life? So in this way, we should never sacrifice our consciousness. We should never. Of course, I'm preaching to myself. This is a very high state, but we should never. We should never act like, oh, I'm chanting my rounds. Oh, I do my service, and the rest of my mind space I can just fill up with, this and that, and politics and music and da. Because it's actually all about the consciousness. We see that I was in the Govardhan retreat in Vrindavan, Sachinandan Maharaj, who was emphasizing this point that the bhava, the consciousness of which we chant, determines our destination. The sadhana determines the goal. And so we can say it's not enough to just do the bare minimum. It's not enough to just chant and just do this, because we actually have to be Krishna conscious. We have to chant in consciousness of Krishna. We have to think of Krishna. And a sign of good chanting, a sign of Krishna consciousness, is that we think of Krishna even more. It's not that we have amazing japa, and as soon as we put our bead bag down, as Prabhupada would say, he said this one time as a joke, but now I can do whatever I want, any damn thing I want. It's not exactly like that. It's not exactly like, oh, I've checked this box, and now I can fill my consciousness with whatever I want for the rest of the day. I mean, you always have free will. You can do that. But we see the result of that is that we can't really toy around with what we engross our consciousness in. We'll go to the next text now. Text 28. We have 3 more texts, so I'll try to go a little quickly. Can someone please read the translation?
Although in the body of a deer, Bharat Maharaj, due to his rigid devotional service in his past life, could understand that the cause of his birth in that body, or could understand the cause of his birth in that body. Considering his past and present life, he constantly repented his activities, speaking in the following way.
Purport. Do you want to read the purport?
This is a special concession for a devotee. Even if he attains a body that is non-human, by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he advances further in devotional service, whether by remembering his past life or by natural causes. It is not easy for a common man to remember the activities of his past life, but Bharat Maharaj could remember his past activities due to his great sacrifices and engagement in devotional service.
Okay. Not really much to say about that, although currently it's very popular to do a past life regression, right? So Bharat Maharaj got the legit past life regression, and yeah. All right, next text, please.
In the body of a deer, Bharat Maharaj began to lament, "What misfortune! I have fallen from the path of the self-realized. I gave up my real sons, wife, and home to advance in spiritual life, and I took shelter in a solitary holy place in the forest. I became self-controlled and self-realized, and I engaged constantly in devotional service, hearing, thinking, chanting, worshipping, and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead Vasudeva. I was successful in my attempt so much so that my mind was always absorbed in devotional service. However, due to my personal foolishness, my mind again became attached, this time to a deer. Now I have obtained the body of a deer and have fallen far from my devotional practices."
Okay. I'll just read the purport quickly. Due to his stringent execution of devotional service, Maharaj Bharat could remember the activities of his past life and how he was raised to the spiritual platform. Due to his foolishness, he became attached to an insignificant deer and thus fell down and had to accept the body of a deer. This is significant for every devotee. If we misuse our position and think that we are fully engaged in devotional service and can do whatever we like, we have to suffer like Bharat Maharaj and be condemned to accept the type of body that impairs our devotional service. Only the human form is able to execute devotional service, but if we voluntarily give this up for sense gratification, we certainly have to be punished. This punishment is not exactly like that endured by an ordinary materialistic person. By the grace of the Supreme Lord, a devotee is punished in such a way that his eagerness to attain the lotus feet of Lord Vasudeva is increased. By his intense desire, he returns home in the next lifetime. Devotional service is very completely described here. Tad anushravana manana sankirtanar. Oh, woo! All right. Thank you. The constant hearing and chanting of the glories of the Lord is recommended in the Bhagavad Gita. Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridavrta. Those who have taken to Krishna consciousness should be very careful that not a single moment is wasted, and that not a single moment is spent without chanting and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his activities. By his own actions and by the actions of his devotees, Krishna teaches us how to become cautious in devotional service. Through the medium of Bharat Maharaj, Krishna teaches us that we must be careful in the discharge of devotional service. If we want to keep our minds completely fixed without deviation, we must engage them in devotional service full time. As far as the members of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness are concerned, they have sacrificed everything to push on this Krishna consciousness movement. Yet, they must take a lesson from the life of Bharat Maharaj to be very cautious and to see that not a single moment is wasted in frivolous talk, sleep, or voracious eating. Wow. Eating is not prohibited, but if we eat voraciously, we shall certainly sleep more than required. Sense gratification ensues, and we may be degraded to a lower life form. In that way, our spiritual progress may be checked, at least for the time being. The best course is to take the advice of Srila Rupa Goswami, avyarta kalavatvam. We should see that every moment of our lives is utilized for rendering of devotional service, and for nothing else. This is the secure position for wanting to return home back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, yeah, the translation of this text, it's talking about how Bharat Maharaj, he was able to give up everything. Imagine that. You have the whole kingdom. You have your wife. You have your sons. He was the emperor of the entire planet. And a deer. Isn't that mind-boggling? To think that he had this level of renunciation to give up everything. He's saying here, I gave up my sons, I gave up my wife, I gave up my home. Living in the forest, he was constantly engaged in devotional service, yet a little inattention. So this is, it can be kind of discouraging for us to think, if Bharat Maharaj is at this level, what level am I at to where I think that I'm invincible? I think that I can't get distracted. Srila Prabhupada, he talks about the Sankirtan devotees who have given up everything for spreading Krishna consciousness, yet we should never think that, he's warning that they should not think that they're safe, in a sense, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Drida Vrata, we should be very determined. So, yes. We're running a little bit out of time. I guess I'd like to read just this last verse. Can someone please read the translation in purple?
Although Bharata Maharaj received the body of a deer, by constant repentance he became completely detached from all material things. He did not disclose these things to anyone, but he left his mother deer in a place known as Kalanjara mountain, where he was born. He again went to the forest of Salagrama and to the ashrama of Palashya and Palaha.
All right. It is significant that Maharaj Bharat, by the grace of Vasudeva, remembered his past life. He did not waste a moment. He returned to Pulaha Ashram, to the village known as Shalagram. Association is very meaningful. Therefore, ISKCON tries to perfect one who enters a society. The members of this society should always remember that the society is not like a free hotel. All the members should be very careful to execute their spiritual duties so that whoever comes will automatically become a devotee and will be able to return back to Godhead in this very life. Although Bharat Maharaj acquired the body of a deer, he again left his hearth and home. In this case, the mountain Kalanjaya. One should not be captivated by his birthplace and family. One should take shelter of the association of devotees and cultivate Krishna consciousness. So we're seeing here that this society, ISKCON, the goal of this is what? Yes, okay, all of these are right. But that we should return back to Godhead in this very life. That's the purpose of this movement. So it's a very high bar. Prabhupada is saying it's not like a hotel. You come and have free food. Being part of ISKCON means almost that you want to go back to Godhead in this lifetime. You are here to become a pure devotee. Like that's the purpose. We're not here to, do some ecstatic dancing and to eat some vegan food. That's this temple is here for people to go back to Godhead. Huh? Find a spouse. Yeah. Also, ISKCON is not where you can find your Moda Goodness, Satvik, ISKCON spouse. So yes, there is a lot of enjoyment in this temple. There's a lot of fun. There's a lot of, nice prasad and nice, I remember, I think Jai Gauranga told me about Gauravani giving a class and saying, we have the best food, the best music, we have everything the best. Our level of enjoyment is so much higher than, people around us. Like if we look outside of our temple, our level of enjoyment is you have the best food for free, and you have so many nice, cool people to hang out with and stuff. But we also, it's actually not free. This is the secret price tag. We don't tell people this price tag. Though this is the secret price tag, is that we are here to go back to Godhead in this life. We're not here to mess around. We're not here to goof off. I'm preaching to myself very, very much so right now. But Srila Prabhupada, he's kind of sobering us in this statement. We can read one last text. It's the end of the chapter, so I'm sorry for holding us up a little longer, but these purports are very amazing. Can someone please read the translation?
Remaining in that ashrama, the great king Bharata Maharaja was now very careful not to fall victim to bad association. Without disclosing his past to anyone, he remained in that ashram and ate dry leaves only. He was not exactly alone, for he had the association of the super soul. In this way, he waited for death in the body of a deer. Bathing in that holy place, he finally gave up that body.
Purport. Holy places like Vrindavan, Hardwar, Prayag, and Jagannath Puri are especially meant for the execution of devotional service. Vrindavan specifically is the most exalted and preferred holy place for Vaishnava devotees of Lord Krishna, who are aspiring to return back to Godhead, the Vaikuntha planets. There are many devotees in Vrindavan who regularly bathe in the Yamuna, and this cleanses all the contamination of the material world. By constantly chanting and hearing the holy names and pastimes of the Supreme Lord, one certainly becomes purified and becomes a fit candidate for liberation. However, if one purposefully falls victim to sense gratification, he has to be punished, at least for one lifetime, like Bharat Maharaj. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 5th canto, 8th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled A Description of the Character of Bharat Maharaj. So, yeah, I'll just give a small little concluding point. But so far it's Srila Prabhupada, he's really emphasizing how careful we have to be. He's emphasizing where our focus should be. He's emphasizing that this should always be at the back of our mind, is that I'm here to become Krishna conscious. I'm here to become a pure devotee. And it's not impossible in this lifetime. With the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, it's actually very possible for us to become a pure devotee if we apply ourselves, if we're determined. But we see that, like Bharat Maharaj fell away. And we also see that in our lifetime, we'll see many peers who also fall away, and even we ourselves may fall away from this path for some time. But that is one of the morals of this story, is that Krishna never lets us go. Even in the body of a deer, we see that Paramatma was accompanying him. And we see many people will, they'll come and they'll stay for some time, and maybe they feel, okay, I'm happy now. I can go back out there. Or, oh, I've learned what I can from this temple, and thanks for the food. But we see that this is Srila Prabhupada. I recall in a class someone mentioned that he said they will all come back. They will all come back eventually. The Srimad Bhagavatam, it says, one who has once tasted the nectar of the lotus feet of the Lord cannot but remember it for the rest of their life and for the rest of their future lives. So we should know that these people, they may have, basically we'll get them next time. They may have escaped once, but we see that Bharat Maharaj, he has so much regret, so much resentfulness for his inattention. So we should pray for these people and pray for ourselves that we can be careful on the path. But we also understand that they'll be back. You'll be back someday. No one ever leaves. They just take a very long break sometimes. And Krishna protects. Krishna takes care of us. I think on that note, we can open up for discussion or any further points. Tulsi Saki Mataji.
Thank you for a nice class, Prabhu. I have a million questions, but I'll limit to 2 today. So the first question is that when we referred in the past to sinful activities, it was the four regs. But here, Bharat Maharaj became distracted by a deer and neglected his spiritual advancement. So he says, because he did it purposefully, he had to come back in the body of a deer. So his distraction, just because of a deer, could be any pet. Then we come back in the life of because we purposefully, if we are taking care of pets, then or whatever it is, then is it to be considered neglecting?
Yeah.
And then the second one is, we are saying the way we make advancement is devotee association. That's like, the most important thing. But the biggest problem also is offenses to devotees. So in this case, Bharat Maharaj, even as a deer, was associating only with Super Soul. So then, is devotee association and devotee offense, or is it better to be with Super Soul?
Okay, yeah, I'll first talk about the first question. Srila Prabhupada, he was stating in the purport, I think maybe 2 texts back, that Krishna is teaching us a lesson through Bharat Maharaj. This is not exactly the expected result. Like Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, he protects one from the most dangerous type of fear. So this animal form of life, it's not a sinful reaction, is what Srila Prabhupada was saying. It's specifically a lesson given by Krishna. And there's 2 instances. There's the animals of the Dham, which we understand to be saints and sages who had some karma to burn off. They had some lesson to learn. And then there's Bharat Maharaj. And so it's Krishna teaching a very personalized lesson, but it's not the standard. It's not the default. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that the unsuccessful yogi, they'll go up and then they can come back down into a pious family, a wealthy family, a Brahminical family. But actually we should, we shouldn't consider devotees that they might take birth as animals in their next life, because it's not, even Jad Bharat, he wasn't a very sinful person. He was very, he was a very realized personality. It's just Krishna wanted to teach him about this attachment to the deer. It's not because he was a sinful person that he got put into that body, but it was to teach him and it was to teach us. And then the second question was, could you remind me? Okay, yeah. Yeah, well, the story of the deer, it's said that in the translation that the deer immediately went to the Pulaha ashram. So this deer, it did go to associate with the devotees. I believe Srila Prabhupada, or the translation, meant that the deer was alone in the sense that the deer didn't really have like peers, because it's a deer. It's, it can't really talk to everyone else, but still it tried to surround itself with the people of the ashram in the mountains. And it's on the point of devotee association, it's I've had that thought too before. It's kind of interesting how it's the most important thing, but it's also the most almost risky thing. That an offense to the devotees can make your spiritual life go upside down, But more times than not, devotees are the ones who are saving us, not so much the ones who get us into trouble, Devotees, they're very merciful by nature. They're very tolerant. They're very forgiving. So in general, it's a good bet to stick around devotees. But some people, they just aren't at a place where they can associate with devotees regularly and not make offenses. They might have some traumas, might have some issues, might have some this or that, which makes them have to limit their association with devotees to an extent. They shouldn't ever cut themselves off from Prabhupada's books, cut themselves off from the process, cut themselves off from hearing. And also, they might not have to cut themselves off from the temple and from the other devotees, but perhaps they have to limit it. If they're around them too much, they might get too familiar, too critical to this or that. Was that? Okay. Any other comments? I saw Gokul Nandapur and then Dustin.
About the second question of Tulsi Saki, I was thinking about just like the knife, right? There is a risk of hurting yourself, cutting the finger, but still, we got to use it in the kitchen to cut the vegetables. Somebody who's aware of the risk of meeting with an accident if we are not attentive while driving, we don't give up driving, right? It's just like that. So yeah, there is a chance of committing offenses, but then we cannot lose the opportunity, to achieve or attain our final goal. Just wanted to share.
Thank you. Great example. Dustin?
Hare Krishna. So I'm a little bit confused on one thing. And so what I absorbed from this purport, the Bhagavatam, some of it is, don't waste any time in your Krishna consciousness, be very focused, and surely Krishna will come to you, Lord Vishnu will come to you at the point of death. Now, so this purport says be very focused, but I heard another story in the Bhagavatam most people are familiar with. I can't remember the devotees.
Jamil?
Yes, where he basically gets entangled in a promiscuous relationship, and he basically accidentally says Lord Vishnu's name at the point of his death. So that's my question.
Yeah, it's a great point you're bringing up. It's as Gokul Nandapur often says, it's not black and white. It's not just this way or just that way. Because there's the factor of Krishna's mercy. Krishna's mercy will always be there. So the point that's being emphasized is we should do our part to the best of our ability. Krishna, he wants us to come back more than we want him. Krishna, he's always going to go that extra mile. But we shouldn't think that and in that way be lackadaisical. As Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj said, we shouldn't be lackadaisical, expecting Krishna to do all the work. So, it's actually, we should have both perspectives, that Krishna will protect me. Krishna will come. Krishna, like we were reading in Isha Upanishad, like, Krishna, please remember even just like the slightest thing I've done, Krishna, he does remember that, and he will come, and he will protect us. And he even says, I'll force myself into the mind of my devotee. So we should be reassured. But that reassurance shouldn't make us lazy. That reassurance shouldn't make us lackadaisical. Because also, why make it take any longer? Sure, it's practically guaranteed we're going back to Krishna. This life, the next life, or the next life, or the next life. It's practically guaranteed Krishna's, by hook or by crook, gonna, take us back home. But why make it take any longer than it should? Why? It's not fun to be lazy. It doesn't feel good. It's just, yeah. Anyways, but of course, coming back down to earth, I was thinking maybe just a last thing we could do is maybe we could share an idea or two. Srila Prabhupada said, don't waste a single moment. So what does that look like? We can just have a takeaway if anyone wants to share. We might think, don't waste a single moment means you have to be running around every single moment of the day, just like it's Janmashtami and like there's a million services to do. So what do you guys think? How do we not waste a moment?
Well, I think kind of a roundabout way of answering that question, but one thing that I was just thinking about is I doubt that Bharat Maharaj was like, look at that deer, I'm going to forsake it all right now and just abandon it. Like actually the deer, he had compassion for the deer first, and then he started taking care of it. And then it was like this slow, like...
It crept up on him.
Yeah, it crept up, and it's like that saying, like, if you throw a frog in boiling water, it hops out. But if you like throw it in there and then slowly heat it up, it stays in there, you know. And so, no, it's like
no, it's.
I'm
fine.
trying to say
it's fine. Don't worry.
I'm talking about a dead human.
It was just shocking. Yeah.
Sorry, but
you don't have to be sorry.
Okay, well, yeah, but it's like it gets the point across that it can be like that. Like we can get boiled, we can get burned by something like that, and so I just think how easy it is and how much we do have to guard ourselves from little things that we like to maybe tend to over-enjoy on. So, and then, yeah.
Thank you. Great point. I mean, it's very relevant. You're right. It's not just like, two paths open up and it's like Krishna or a deer. It's like oh, this deer is my service to Krishna, and like I just need I have my service and it's so exhausting and I just need a little bit of deer. I need just an hour. All right.
Yeah. And that is a really amazing point. And then that coupled with the fact that he didn't stay in the association of devotees. Like this is the key takeaway that, we keep hearing is most people are going to need something. They're going to need a deer of some kind. But if we stay in the association of devotees, then the devotees can keep us in check. And they can get our heads screwed on straight. If that deer or if that, whatever makes us feel like, oh, I can leave the association of devotees then that's it. That's that's where it goes wrong.
Try. Yeah, just on that point, if we find devotees we can trust, if we find devotees who are like-minded, we find devotees who, accept us and stuff like that, we should just hold on for dear life, like to find a like-minded devotee is, it's like finding gold. All right, I know it's true.
I was thinking that one way that we can really keep ourselves engaged in every moment is enthusiasm, and I don't mean enthusiasm by just doing something. Defines enthusiasm, endeavoring with intelligence. So why am I doing this? What's the purpose for it? What's the result that I'm looking for? And so even in so-called mundane activities, if we use our intelligence to understand how to connect it with Krishna and how it's Krishna, then that's, we can go to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I know that if I go to the gym and I work out, I feel full of vitality and health, that I can serve Krishna even more. I can serve the devotees. And therefore it becomes a purified, it becomes bhakti yoga, So really use enthusiasm, endeavor with intelligence that how am I using this in Krishna service?
Jai. All right, thank you. I guess we'll just conclude with that statement. That's the key. We're not supposed to do a 24-hour japa session. We're not supposed to do the 24-hour arti. That's the key is that we tie everything to Krishna somehow. We see Srila Prabhupada's life. He had his pharmaceutical business and he had so many engagements. And it's not like he was like 24/7 always, chanting his japa, always serving the deities, but he was Krishna conscious. So it's about the consciousness that this is for Krishna. All right, I held you guys a little over, so yeah. All right, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Going back home, back to Godhead ki jai. Ekadashi Vrata ki jai. Ekadashi Prasadam ki jai.
Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Juta Padakamalam Sri Gurum Vaishnava Vangsha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanitang Tang सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्ण चैतन्य देवं श्री राधा कृष्ण पादान् सगण ललिता श्री विशाखान्वितांश्च भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि गौर भक्त वृंद भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासदि